This was the location of my city's Tea Party rally on Tax Day 2009. Today, it is but an empty square. However, nearly 3 years ago, the scene was much different. Filled with a new sense of liberty and a passion for America's economy, citizens all over the country held gatherings like this to protest bad economic policy and the increasing size of government. I heard a lot of slogans that day, a lot of signs and interesting t-shirts, but what I saw was very little mention of Ron Paul. But that was then, and today the 2012 election race is in full force, and much has changed.
I'm Rick Santorum.
Hi, my name is Michelle Bachmann.
I'm Newt Gingrich.
Mitt Romney.
I'm Tim Pawlenty.
I'm Herman Cain.
I am Congressman Ron Paul.
As the Tea Party emerged as a political force, many have realized that their newfound zeal for economic responsibility and liberty was not such a novel idea after all, since Ron Paul had been advocating these same policies for 25 years. Ron Paul has never needed a popular movement behind him to advocate liberty, limited government, and fiscal responsibility. He's been doing it in the face of adversities from his colleagues in the media for as long as he has been in office.
1964, and you got this jaboni in the White House. Would you go over to Vietnam and serve for him?
No, there'd be no Vietnam Wars until the libertarians were
There'd be no nation!
That as we drive the economy this year and for next year's election, you will see conditions improve, but sure enough, you will see the consequence of the inflation that we have today. In a couple years, you will see the recession, if not the depression of '86 or '87.
On October 16, 1987, waves of sell orders plunged the Dow Jones Industrial Average to a 108-point loss. Analysts attributed the market decline to the dollar's weakness, trade imbalances, a rise in interest rates.
There are 38 million people today that have no health care after the government's been in health care for 45 years. Price has gone up, the quality has gone down, the distribution has been eliminated. There are more people without health care now since the government's been in the business.
Price inflation with a major economic downturn will decimate U.S. federal government finances and exploding deficits and uncontrolled spending. Federal Reserve policy will continue at an expanding rate with massive credit expansion, which will make the dollar crisis worse.
You said, and you predicted, you said, if we continue to inflate this bubble this way, the housing crisis is going to cause an explosion and there's going to be damage worldwide. What did you know, Ron Paul, in 2003 that nobody else on the Banking Committee or the United States Congress or in the media know? What did you know?
If one didn't know, his 2007 debate speeches could easily be mistaken for any of today's GOP candidates' current talking points.
Our ideas about what the role of government ought to be. If you think the government has to take care of us from cradle to grave, and if you think our government should police the world and spend hundreds of billions of dollars on a foreign policy that we cannot manage, you can't get rid of the IRS. But if you want to lower taxes, and if you want the government to quit printing the money to come up with shortfall and cause all the inflation, you have to change policy. Well, you do it by an understanding what the goal of government ought to be. If the goal of government is to be the policeman of the world, you lose liberty. And if the goal is to promote liberty, you can unify all segments. The freedom message brings us together. It doesn't divide us. Well, in my first week, I already got rid of the income tax. So my second week, I would get rid of the inflation tax. It's a tax that nobody talks about. We live way beyond our means with a foreign policy we can't afford and an entitlement system that we have encouraged. We print money for it, the value of the money goes down, and poor people pay higher prices. That is a tax. It's a transfer of wealth from the poor and the middle class to Wall Street. Wall Street's doing quite well, but the inflation tax is eating away at the middle class of this country. We need to get rid of the inflation tax.
One man. Today, the Ron Paul revolution is stronger and more influential than ever. It is more mainstream than it has ever been, and it is being embraced by people on both the left and the right. Ron Paul, the candidate, has never had a better chance of winning, and his policies are now the de facto positions for almost the entire GOP field. Whether Ron Paul wins the election is yet to be determined, but regardless of the outcome, the 2012 revolution has already won, as it has permeated and changed the entire political landscape. This documentary intends to capture the spirit of the 2012 revolution as it marches to victory. We want to take a closer look at its increased organization, its dedication to the cause, and the zeal of its supporters as it continues to revolutionize the idea of American liberty. As the media blackout continues to keep Ron Paul the man in the shadows, we hope to explore further how even the other candidates and their supporters, like the Tea Party, acknowledge Ron Paul and his revolution as being the catalyst for America's new drive to liberty and economic responsibility. This documentary will be a not-for-profit effort, made available free online in high definition, and needs your contribution to help make this possible.
Of epic proportions, over 30 years in the making. The left despises him, although they share a lot of common ground. The right fears him because his influence is growing. Mainstream media tries to ignore what he has to say if it doesn't fit their corporate agenda. Yet he continues on with his message of personal freedom, non-aggression, following the Constitution, smaller government, free trade, and liberty. His supporters are knowledgeable, passionate, diverse, and growing.